I wanted to bring in a couple of people who are very familiar with the community. Patsy French has been living here, I think, for 40 years or more, or something like that.
That's correct.
And she was a state representative from Randolph until a couple of years ago, and is on several local boards, has provided a wide range of services to the community. Wanted to check in with Patsy, and I really want to thank you for joining us on the radio here this morning, Patsy.
Good morning, Dave. And I'd like to just say thank you to Catamount Solar for hosting us here. It's a wonderful thing. They're a great company.
Also with me in the next segment of the program here this morning is Julie Ifflin. She is Executive Director of the Randolph Area Community Development Corporation. And thanks so much for joining us, Julie.
Thank you very much, Dave. Great to be here.
And it sounds like there's just a lot going on in terms of community development in Randolph. There are a few different groups working on various aspects of trying to revitalize the community here. And tell me a little bit about, what's your biggest project going on? What's the biggest item on your plate right now, Julie Ifflin?
Well, right now we have a couple big projects. We are in the construction stage of completely revamping the water wastewater systems of a mobile home park that we acquired to protect for permanent affordability. And we are in the process of revisioning a local redevelopment right in the downtown. It was an old Ethan Allen plant.
Oh, yeah.
It was a brownfield, and several years ago we were able to clean it up, put some rental housing on it, and get permitted for some for sale home ownership units. And we're now working with Efficiency Vermont and Vermont to conceive of zero energy modular homes that can be affordable to the middle income folks of our community that can create the sort of second phase of that project and complete the project.
And Julie Ifflin, you were telling me about Vermont earlier, and in fact, I think after the show we're going to take a few minutes and head over right next door here to Catamount Solar. It looks like there is something like a tiny house, maybe a little bigger than a tiny house, but is that what we're talking about there?
That is indeed. The Vermont is a local company, as the name would suggest, that creates what they call a zero energy modular home, which means that the home creates as much energy as it uses on average. And we worked with Efficiency Vermont and Vermont to create a small version, but with all of the interior functioning of Vermont that fits on a trailer, so it can be moved around from community to community, so people can walk in, see what it's like, learn more about the systems, and then eventually that tiny house, as you say, will come back to Randolph and be a home for someone. Wow,
that's pretty cool. Are these Vermonts also being installed in other communities around Vermont?
Yes, yeah. His manufacturing plant is in Wilder, but they already have homes in Addison County and Burlington area, certainly in the Hartford area. They're really gaining a lot of popularity.
Wow, that is interesting. Let me bring in Patsy French for a moment here and ask you, Patsy, your involvement here. You've been, as I mentioned, on a number of community organizations, and of course, as a state representative, you've got to get out and meet people in your town and campaign every couple of years and find out what's on their minds and so on. What is the overall trajectory as you see it here? Randolph has had some bumps in the road with the downtown fires and stuff in recent years, and a couple of employers giving up the ghost and leaving town. Other new employers expanding or arriving, that sort of thing. What's the overall trajectory here, would you say?
I think, well, first of all, as I always said on the campaign trail too, Randolph is a great place to live for young families, for people who are aging, such as myself and my husband. It's just got so many good things, and I think you've had a lot of people on the show representing a lot of those good things. Right now, yes, we're at a little bump in the road. I would love if I were to win Powerball or something, although I understand you have to buy tickets in order to win.
That's
but
what I hear.
I would buy the Bellmains building and do something with that, because people people all have wonderful ideas, but it takes money to buy the building first.
Sure.
And so I would love to see something happen there. But I think we've got some great employers in town. You're sitting in one of them. We've got lots of others that Julie can probably list them all better than I can. And as I say, you probably have had some of them on your show this morning. So I still see Randolph and the area as a great place to live. We have, much to my chagrin, somewhat. Interstate 89 went through the farm I grew up in South Royalton. I was born in Randolph, though, at Gifford Hospital. But so we have transportation right here from where I live. 5 minutes I can be downtown, 5 minutes I can be on the interstate to get to anywhere I want to go, but without hearing the interstate where I live, which is important to me. But so I think we've got a great future here. I think it's still a great future. We may be at a kind of a transition stage here about what things are going on, but I still would tout Randolph and this area as a great place for families or anyone to come and live.
It's a really interesting mix of sort of, I don't know, influences or tendencies in a community where you have the cultural aspect of, say, the Chandler Center for the Arts. You have obviously the significant, most Vermont towns do not have a local hospital right within their borders. You've got the Gifford Medical Center. Of course, we just had Dan Bennett on, the CEO there, talking about his institution, and you've got this significant relationship with the Vermont Technical College. Pat Moulton was on from Vermont Tech and earlier in the show, and she was describing how one of that school's graduates stays in town and builds this company LED Dynamics, which is and Julie, tell me, they're in the process of expanding, right?
They are indeed. They're moving to a very large site in the industrial district. They started in a garage. A bunch of engineer types out of VTC, and grew the business. Created the first in the world LED bulb that could fit in a regular fluorescent tube fixture without any changes to the fixture, and grew from there. So it's a very innovative company, and they're growing probably more than doubling over the next couple of years.
I didn't realize that they had actually developed the first LED bulb that would fit in a standard fixture.
Yeah, without having to change that fixture.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously if you want to change your light bulb, you don't want to have to call an electrician to come by and change your light fixture. And that to me sounds almost like a hilariously Vermont scale problem. It's like, okay, this just makes sense that we ought to, if we're going to have these LED light bulbs, they ought to go in standard fixtures so we don't have to change the fixture as well as the bulb. And so here comes a little Vermont company in Randolph, Vermont, saying, all right, we're just going to develop an LED bulb that fits in a standard fixture. And
Yep.
it seems almost kind of obvious or whatever, but it's one of those, it sounds like it was broke, so they fixed it.
Well, I think it's the mark of many rural communities. Farmers are very ingenious people, and there's that sort of sense of you need something done, you figure out how to do it, and that extends to the, my dad grew up on a farm before he became an engineer. I think there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
You figure out how to do it yourself and come up with ingenious ways to help people.
It's a can-do thing, and I see that all over Vermont, and it really is it's a certain spirit here that it's one of the things I think we all love about the state, that it has this kind of thing going on. And Patsy, you mentioned the Belmain store on Main Street. I was really disappointed. I didn't realize they had closed, but I hadn't been down here in a few months, and I remember my wife and I we stopped by there. I think last year we were just on a foliage drive or something. I bought a pair of jeans, and I think she bought if I remember, something for the kitchen. I don't remember exactly what it was, and I said, what a cool place. You can come to an old-timey department store here on Main Street in your town and get something, that broad a range of products or whatever. Is that the internet shopping that's talking here? I mean, is that people buying their kitchen stuff on Amazon instead of downtown?
It's certainly no doubt a part of it. It was also just the aging of Peter Winslow, who owned it. And my understanding is that his children had no interest in furthering that. And
Yeah.
when he bought it, I believe it was as something for his wonderful wife to work at and run. And she died a number of years ago, and Peter has not wanted to continue because he's fairly elderly.
Yep.
Don't. If you're listening, Peter, I don't want to insult you.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with growing old. I just
No,
want,
no.
as someone who's in the process of doing that myself, I just want to point that out. So,
We're all doing that.
Yeah.
But it was just a wonderful store. I grew up in South Railton, but coming to Randolph was the big town.
Yep.
And going to Belmain's was always a wonderful thing.
Yep.
And it's always been here all my life until now. And my youngest sister, who grew up in South Railton as well, but lives in Los Angeles now, where she could buy anything she wanted before coming here for Christmas, they would wait and do their Christmas shopping at Belmain's when they
yeah.
came here every other year for Christmas.
That's awesome.
They're going to miss it this year.
Yeah, and it is too bad. I mean, my wife would speak of this sort of fantasy of trying to get Belmain's to open a branch store in Montpelier where we live.
Oh,
And
wouldn't she like to come and open it one here?
Belmain's again?
Yes, Belmain's again would be a wonderful thing.
Belmain's too, yeah.
Yes.
We were joking
2.0, yeah.
We were joking that, well, RACDC, our organization, was created 25 years ago to rebuild that building
Yes.
after the fires. That building was a hole in the ground.
Yeah,
25 years ago, the challenge was, all the fires and rebuilding. Today, the challenge, now we've got a building, it's empty, so at least the building's there.
the building's there.
But we have different challenges, like what you mentioned about the internet competition and our need to figure out how, what services, what businesses can thrive in a downtown today that may have been a little different from 25 years ago.
Well, everybody's looking for that magic formula in all the towns I visited this summer. I think I'm hearing that theme a lot: is how do we keep that vibrancy going? And certainly, a lot of folks are putting a lot of good thinking into that question. And I think there are some solutions out there, and I'm hoping you all have the excellent luck in Randolph here to find them for you, the ones that fit in your own community. There's a lot of variety too.
Well, I don't know how many people mention often, oh, I keep thinking I'll go down to Belmain's and I'll pick that up.
Yeah.
And no, I can't go to
Can't go to
Belmain's and
Belmain's
pick that
anymore.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that over and over from
Yeah,
people.
that's too bad. Yeah. All right. Well, unfortunately, we are about out of time on this segment of our program this morning. But I want to thank you very much, Patsy French and Julie Ifflin, for stopping by and visiting with us a little bit.